Welcome to Morning Cup with Dr. C. I'm so excited today because I am interviewing one of my dear friends, Kristal DeFeo. She is going to introduce herself, but I'm just really excited for her in particular to be on today because we're going to talk about all about burnout from what I've experienced, what Kristal's experienced, and how she is where she is today because of it. So Kristal, please introduce yourself.
Hey, hello, Dr. Caroline. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Yes, I'm Kristal DeFeo, and I currently took a break from direct care doing behavioral health and addiction therapy, and now have decided to start a coaching business, just to do a little bit of more along the lines of things that I wanted to do. And then with that, I have launched a new online course to help people. So I'm so excited because it's like my new journey for 2022. And yeah, I'm excited to talk to you more about it and burnout. How fun.
It's a great topic. Start the new year strong.
It's much needed.
Exactly. And I think, burnout is a hot topic. Talking just about like COVID burnout and what people have been going through the last 2 years with the pandemic, but also just in our professions, whatever we are doing and how that can really transpire negatively, but can have a positive outcome if we're able to do something about it. But I would love to hear more about your journey and how it could really benefit other people hearing your story, because it really hit home to me and resonated with me. And I know it's going to resonate with everyone else too that is experiencing this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've been a therapist for probably over, I'd say 11 years now. And I just feel like every year I was like, I'm quitting. And then something just kept me in there. I knew I could never truly leave because I loved working with clients. Like I truly was passionate about it. It was just all the other stuff. Like I can think of a million things outside of actually direct care that made my job so much more harder than the clients themselves, which is crazy. So that pressure just kind of continued to build up. It didn't matter how many good coping skills I had, how much I went to the gym, did different use different outlets. It was just always lingering. So I'd always say I'm going to quit. Like next year, I'm going to quit. And here we are 11 going on 12 years later, and I'm still in it. I had to just decide doing it different, what that would look like so that I could still do my passion, but just in a different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you brought up something super important because there's so much information out there about things we can do, the toolkit we have when it comes to managing stress or burnout. But burnout is that next level of stress. And that's what I think is so important to remember too, because you need a little bit more help sometimes because it becomes a cycle. I know I personally was in a cycle of burnout, and I don't think it ever goes away. You just get quicker at identifying the cycle before it becomes a problem. Because even when I started my coaching business, I was like, okay, well, I was going full force, working 16-hour days. I'm in the same cycle as I was as a therapist. So going back to what you were saying too, what did you find really helpful to switch job positions as well, but also to start your coaching business? What was that drive of switching that or flipping the switch?
I think it was the moment I realized I wasn't being healthy for my clients. I was good at separating my personal life from work, but it got to a point where I was starting to dread going in, and it wasn't because of them again. It was just no matter what I did, I felt like I just wasn't happy. And I don't think in our field, it's so important that it doesn't matter if you think you're not being obvious. It's kind of, it can just transfer in a way.
Oh, yes.
And that scared me. I never wanted to be that counselor or therapist that brought their personal life or their unhappiness into my sessions. So in that moment, I was like, okay, I still want to be in this. It just might look different. So actually before COVID hit is when I resigned, and I had to terminate over 60 patients. And that was devastating to me because a lot of them had been in the program for a very long time, right? And had gone through multiple therapists because of burnout. And so I was just another person that they had to terminate with. So it was very triggering for them and very disheartening for me. Right. But I realized I wasn't in a good place. And so I still work, in behavioral health for rehab. But I was like, you know what, let me try quality assurance. I'm really good at training staff. I'm really good at implementing, new policies and trying to change the culture, so that we can prevent people from quitting. And they allowed me to like, take charge and try it out. And I got really good at it. I got promoted during COVID as a regional manager. But I'm still giving back in a way, right? Like I'm trying to like train people the right way and keep the, burnout, like the revolving door. I don't want people to keep leaving. So like what needs to change?
Yeah.
But with that, 2 years later now, I miss working with actual people. I'm in the medical records a lot, just working at, compliance and charts and regulations and all the kind of boring stuff that's really important. But I do miss that like connection with people. And when you take that away, it's like taking a canvas away from an artist. Like I wasn't whole. I don't feel full. I don't feel like I'm walking in my purpose. So that's the motivation behind like why I was like, I gotta just open my own thing.
I love it. I love that you did, but it's also that journey too. I think that process of figuring out what makes sense, and like you're still in the field, but it's shifting the platform in which you do it. And I think it's really so commendable of understanding, wait, this is too much. Like I need to take a step back, reevaluate. How can I still be with clients? Like when you were leaving your old position, going into quality assurance, because a lot of people are scared to make that jump or be like, well, I went to school for this, or I got a certification in this, or I've been doing this for a decade or more. Like it's really difficult, but I think it goes to show when you're really aligned with the decisions, doors start opening up. And when you started your coaching business, it was even before you started promoting, people started coming to you, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love you to speak a little bit more to that of like what you do with coaching and like how you help people.
Yeah, so I just started probably like full out 3 months ago, like diving in, doing all the important business steps. So 3 months to me is not a long time. I've owned another business before, like a partnership, and it took 4 years to even like start picking up. It takes time to open anything new. So in 3 months, so I think what helped me with that is definitely like networking. I met you through that. So I'm just like all about having like strong women. Cause I grew up with a lot of men, like I have brothers, I'm the only girl, and my mom was the first person to go to college actually in our family. So that whole like women empowerment, it's very important, but I didn't have that,
Mm-hmm.
And so networking, being comfortable doing things like this, like speaking on a social platform, because I'm not shy, but I don't like public speaking and things like that. But like you almost have to like put yourself out. I know. You have to like put yourself out there if you have a message and want to get your voice heard. So that, and then third, I would just say other connections. I never burn my bridges. Like I don't think I've ever, knock on wood, have like done that, at least intentionally. And so my first client actually is, well, I can't self-disclose, but let's just say that I already knew her in my past from other, other experiences that we've had together, babysitting. She has like, some gifts, call it, that I invest in, like self-care.
Yeah, no, that's
and
important.
We just had like a working relationship. And then when she heard about this, of course, it's like, I want to support you. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to just support you because you're that important to me. And so I think it's very important not to burn your bridges with people, because even she's not necessarily doing my online course, but if I need her to show up on a live, or if I need her to like wear something that's going to like market me, like she'll do it without, hesitation. So that's really important.
No, you're absolutely right. I think like networking art is so key. That's literally how we met, and so many other amazing people in my circle and in your circle too. But I think it's being able to support each other. It's not going against each other or competition. Like, because you're a coach, I'm a coach, but I wanted to have you on here because you have a message to say to people, and it's so important. And you're doing so many amazing things for the community, especially your niche. And that's why I just wanted to highlight that today. But I wanted to go back to what you said about with burnout. I kind of want to jump back a little bit, but what can people look for? Like, I know your experience, but what like stood out to you where it was the defining moment outside of just like feeling exhausted going in, or like feeling tired and just not feeling like it was time to move on, but like what were other symptoms that or signs you saw so other people can know too, to kind of look for that a little bit clearer?
So it's definitely like the physical impact, obviously, like being stressed out, not sleeping, I was having super bad nightmares a lot,
Mm.
like just not being able to, you would think after 11 years or whatever of doing that, that you could like kind of separate that, but you're dealing with a lot of trauma, right? And then I was in the addiction world. So there's just like a lot of back-to-back, like traumatic things that you don't mean to take on, but you vicariously take it on, right?
Yeah.
So the physical with that, and then that was like the mental, right? So like I was very depressed, and it wasn't necessarily like my circumstances, but just like carrying the burden of like all of that for so long and not having any outlet. Because with HIPAA, I always felt like if I shared, you know, outside of supervision, like I'm gonna be in the wrong. But like the average person can't up to like what's the word, attain or keep in 12, almost 12 years worth of trauma, you know, without kind of just like having something to. So I think it was like physical, the mental, spiritually, I was not, you know, I never took the time to stop and be like, what would that look like for me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you kind of need to fill your cup. So I feel like that's really what perpetuated my spiritual journey. You know, I started to have like spiritual mentors and go to church. That won't work for everybody, but that was very healing for me. And then waking up, instead of like rolling out of bed, drinking coffee, changing, going into the office, like I would do different things in the morning to kind of start my day off,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just taking better care of like myself. Because you end up, you want to just make everybody else better, but then like you're like barely getting by.
It's true. I mean, I know I can relate, like just being able to go through them. It's almost like going through motions at some point, and when you have to like start to practice what you preach as well.
Yes.
And it's so hard sometimes when you're in the thick of it and trying to just get through, like it's like mud almost. You're like, okay, just one more step. Can I get in there? But being able to take that step back or get out of that or have those outlets or having a course like yours as well too, to like really help people identify certain things. But I think with like burnout in general, it's people are just like, well, I'm just tired. You're saying you're tired every single day and it becomes like habitual. There's a problem. Maybe it's like your nutrition. Maybe it's like if you're not getting enough physical activity, but sometimes it's so much deeper, and it's so easy to identify physical things versus the mental and the emotional. And it's really being able to understand that and hear about that too. It's like, you're not alone. I think our culture, the hustle 24/7 has created burnout for so many people. And now, especially the last 2 years in particular, of not being able to separate work and home, like working remotely or even like starting your business. A lot of people, their life didn't maybe change completely if they were working from home already, but if they had kids or other like roommates or family members that were living there, it really impacts it. But I want just my last question is, can you tell us about your course?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So my course is called the True Me online course. And excuse me. So basically I read a quote by this woman, Emily McDowell. And it basically says like your true self is right there. Like people think you have to do all these crazy things to like find it, but it's right there under just different experiences and things like that. And before the world got its hands on you, you know, like you were that person, right? So like, that was like I was like, wow, I read that. I'm like, it's true. Like I feel like in my lowest points, I lost like who I loved, you know, like I stopped kind of caring about myself and what was important to me, and you just lose yourself. So reading that was like, you know what, like it's in you, like you have it, you know, maybe along the way you lose it, but how did I get back to that person I used to love? And so I ironically like walked through a lot of the tools that I share in that course with my clients already, because it was things that was sticking with me. And not everything stuck with them. So it's like, if I say mindfulness, let's say, like, yeah, that might be out of a book, but maybe that doesn't work for me, right? So I drew a lot of things that they clung on to, and a lot of things that affected like me in a positive way. And that's like the bulk of my course. So I have like, it's 6 weeks, basically 6 different modules. And it's just content that they drew towards, and things that I drew towards. And I walked it out, like not with them per se, but when I was doing my healing, you know, a lot of the concepts that I have in that course are things that I already tried and it worked for me. So I guess the secrets, call it, would be like reshaping my thinking. And there was a certain way that I did that. And then like working on my past, I wouldn't say trauma, but my past pain.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like to like keep like moving along. And sometimes we have to take a second to be like, I got to look back for a little bit and I have to deal with some things. So the way that I did that, and I reveal that in my course. And then also just like coping skills, like when people hear I worked with addicts, they're like, I'm not an addict. And honestly, like a lot of people have really unhealthy skills, like coping skills, like our vices, call it. So when people hear addiction, they think of, heroin or like something like grandiose. And like we don't take time to be like, what, I wake up every day and I'm drinking 17 cups of coffee, or, like I watch a lot of porn. Like we don't take time to realize like how we're self-destructive. And so it really pulls apart, like not just like actual activities that we do, but like ways that our thinking can be really like unhealthy. And we can use people in a very unhealthy way. So it walks through like all of that. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I love it.
I could tackle all of that in 6 weeks, because the average, client I kept was no longer than that if they were successful. So that I know that if people can, complete successfully in that amount of time with those heavy addictions, that, if you have a little vice and, a little like stinking thinking, we can work it out in 6 weeks. And it's going to be a continued journey for you, but you'll have the fundamental tools to identify what that is for you and what you need to do to get through it.
I love that. I love that you just addressed that too. But that you addressed too, like just unhealthy habits that we have, because it takes like 21 days. I hear like different things. It's 21 days or 30 days to create a habit, but like a lasting habit too, and really understanding the depth of it. But like when I originally heard about your course, it's like, everyone needs to hear about this because this is amazing. And it's so imperative too, for people to understand, like you've walked the talk, like what you're saying, like you've actually experienced, and you're taking your clients through a journey now in coaching through this. Course. And I think that's beautiful.
And I think the hardest thing too is I'm not in recovery. So at this point, I've worked with literally thousands of people in 11 years, with all kinds of addiction. And not even like drugs and alcohol. It could have been like just hoarding or whatever their obsession was with something to escape their reality. So I got a lot of pushback with new people, like, well, you're not doing heroin. How would you know how to help me? And so I used to tell people, like, there's lots of doctors that treat cancer, but they don't have cancer, right? So like, what are we really putting our faith in? Is it like the person's expertise, or is it like that they had our same exact like journey? And so when you break it down like that, that's how I've been able to like keep people, I guess. And then like the more that the more experience I gain, the more I realize like we're not that different. Like we're really not. You just have a different vice, call it. So I think that has helped me to build my my testimonies, and just people staying with me and sticking it through have realized like, you know what, like she has wisdom, like she has something to offer. You don't have to be just like me or have my story to help me. So yeah, it's translated into something really beautiful, and I'm so excited because I think if people can actually like believe in like why I think it's gonna work and why I'm so passionate about it, like they're gonna get the same outcome that I got. So
absolutely. And I think that too, bringing it back, like your journey, it started with the burnout that you experienced to come to this point. So it's not even just about recovery, like if somebody is interested in your course, but the journey of reducing habits that are no longer serving them, and their thinking, their thought process, like rewiring their brain, the subconscious as well. I'm super excited for you, and I'm so glad I had the opportunity to talk to you today. I know we could talk for more hours, but we'll keep it short. But I just want my last and final question, because I lied earlier. I want one more question. One more question. Where can people find you so they can access your course, where you are on social media? Let them know. I'm going to leave it in the description, but if you could let everyone know too.
Yeah, so I have a personal and business account on Instagram. My professional account, though, that I'd like to use is at the True Me. So that's like my hashtag, the True Me, because we're getting to that place. But it's the and then TRUEMES, True Me's. That's the Instagram account. And then my Facebook account is, I have like a True Me page. So if you just type in like True Me Kristal DeFeo, that pops up that way. And then whoever I'm, you know, getting as a friend request, I'm already adding them to the groups. So, or the groups and other pages that I have. So you're automatically like, once you reach out, you're getting it all.
Perfect.
And then my website is truemes.com. And then on February 14th, I'm launching an actual like webpage for course registration specifically. So I'll place that on like all my social media platforms. And then once you register, it's all uphill from there.
Perfect. So see, there's so many opportunities, and I can't wait till February so people can check out the masterclass as well. So keep posted by going on her social media. Thank you so much, Kristal, for taking the time today. I know you're very busy, but it was great to catch up on what you've been up to and really just learn more about your course, but how your journey has really impacted so many people in a positive way and will continue. So thank you so much. And we will see you very soon.
I know. Thank you. Take care.